Welcome everyone
Hey.
to today's LinkedIn Live. This is the second episode, and I really a warm welcome to my co-mate Luca Nardoni. Welcome, Luca.
Thank you, Giacomo. Hello.
And my name is Giacomo Greci, and with Luca, we are the co-head of the association CSD Auditor, and we are behind this new series of podcasts about focus on sustainability assurance. Today, we dive into the most one critical and debated topics in sustainability assurance, which is materiality. But let's be clear before diving this topic. We are not talking about the double materiality assessment, which is in reporting standard. We are talking about the materiality thresholds that the auditors must use when they determining whether sustainability disclosure are free for material misstatement. So let's be honest, the sustainability assurance are still evolving. The materiality is where things get tricky. And today it's more tricky, Luca, because we have the omnibus, which unfortunately was approved just a few hours ago, and the press came out, I think it ended 1 hour ago. And I like the financial audits, but let's talk a little bit about the topic of today. And maybe we come back with the omnibus later on. The financial audits have already well-defined threshold for the material error. In sustainability, instead, we are dealing with the carbon emission, the social justice, the water consumption, the ethical governance. There are a lot of numerical and narrative part that can lead to very huge reputational risk for the company. So today with Luca, we're trying to answer some big questions like how do auditors set a materiality threshold for the sustainability report, the difference between the quantitative and the qualitative materiality in assurance, the common challenges that the auditor faces in assessing ESG disclosure, and more important, how we ensure that the materiality judgments are credible and also defensible. Like the last episode, we invite everyone to submit their question, which some already came in. You can use the QR code, which is in upper corner, or you can send an email to the Untold at csdauditor.ue. And let's start. So the first topic we like to discuss is understanding the materiality in sustainability assurance. So in financial audits, materiality is expressed as a percentage of the revenue, profit, or assets. But the sustainability assurance, we know it's very broader, it's more complex. We are sensing risk related to environment, social, governance. Those are the type of disclosure we are going to check, to audit, to control. Let's say that materiality is a user-driving concept, is affected by the perception and information that the last user, the stakeholder who read the sustainability report get. It's essentially a matter of a professional judgment. Because it's the profession, it's the auditor, the perception that the auditor have of those information set the materiality that lead to not have those material misstatement, then an end user may have a different opinion of the sustainability report. I don't know, Luca, if you have something to add about this, about those general topic.
No, at the moment, I completely agree with you. It's a complex argument, and so we are very fond to to receive questions from the audience and then be able to discuss with them. Because at the moment, I think there is no definite answer to all the questions we can pose about this argument.
Exactly. This is where we try to give an answer to everyone, because even ourselves were questioning about those matters, and we sometimes we come to a common answer, but sometimes we debate even through each other to some the different topics into the audit. But let's first define what is a misstatement. We talked a little bit on the last episode about the misstatement. We are talking about omission. We are talking about error. We are talking about something which not was explained clearly and not very faithfully, because those are considered material when if I take a single information, a single disclosure, or if the error I found in aggregate form or every error in the disclosure I find, those could reasonably be expected to influence the decision of the users, which is our stakeholder. So, because the stakeholder have an opinion based on the sustainability information that the company report in their document. Even the sustainability principle, the last one, the SSA 5000, define those in that way, those material misstatement. Those misstatement that could influence the decision made by the user. For setting the materiality or considering the materiality, it's not based on the level of assurance, because when we are setting the materiality, is the same reasoning that we do for limited assurance or reasonable assurance. What matters is the professional judgment, the experience of the auditor. It depends how the company are looked outside from the stakeholder, and then the auditor must understand what are those disclosure, which is very important, very high risk of misstatement. And the 5000 just say about the materiality that the auditor must set a quantitative threshold for a threshold for a quantitative materiality for the quantitative disclosure, and must only consider qualitative. Then we deep dive into these those two differences and what is the meaning of considering materiality in qualitative disclosure in all the narrative parts. But the goal of the auditor is just to assess that the sustainability information is free from material misstatement. This is what we are working on. Feel free, Luca, to come in, jump in to everything and to add something valuable, because
I'm following you very fondly. Because
yeah, we'll talk about all those stuff for so long. We are still working on this, because now it's starting all the assurance engagement for the company, and we are facing for about this those topics. So let's talk now about the quantitative materiality. So quantity, we are talking about number. So for number, I think with the auditor it's pretty easy with this, because you just have to set a numerical threshold that we set for errors or for omission. Let's do some example just to understand better. For the GHG emission, we just ask ourselves, if a company reports 1,000 metric tons of CO2 emission, but in fact the actual number is 1,500, is those 500 differences material or not? Or if for the water usage reporting, a factory reports 10 million liters instead of 12 million liters. or a company reports 40% women in leadership roles when actually 35%. Those are those questions that we need to answer if those misstatements change the opinion of the users in the end. If maybe it was instead 10 million liters, we wrote 12 million liters if the user changed their mind or changed their opinion. So to set this threshold, we can set maybe a percentage, some monetary value, a percentage of for GHG, for supply chain investment, for energy consumption, or based on scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emission, or a percentage of total workforce count. But what we have to keep in mind that we can't set a single threshold for every quantitative data that is into the sustainability report, because as you can imagine, 5% difference in the scope disclosure, it's way different if we use the same percentage, for example, for a water consumption or for energy consumption or for the workforce. So the auditor must understand what are the key disclosure, what are the key information that is it's critically relevant for the end user than for the others. But it does not mean that we don't check or we omit the control of some quantitative disclosure. But we just get a higher percentage or a less percentage for what is more risky or not. This is the key that the keyword that we need to understand, and that involve the industry context, the risk level, the regulatory expectation. Everything play a big role to set those thresholds. We can add also, which the ISSA 5000 state, those is called performance and materiality. This is like a tolerable misstatement. Not every error is the same, because a little error can be, maybe can be not correct from, we cannot ask for the correction for to the company, because it's if are below this threshold of performance and materiality, then they must not be over the materiality threshold that we set for the quantitative materiality if the aggregate error that we find is above this. So let's just think about a number, a threshold, which is a number, which is a percentage or whatever for those quantitative type of data.
Excuse me, Giacomo.
Yeah.
Don't you think that having different percentage or numbers or whatever other threshold you are imagining, you are talking about, don't you think that having different ones, eventually one for each topic could be the same as having no threshold, no materiality for the auditor? Because if you have to argument, if you have to think about any single specific topic, at the end is the contrary of the materiality, which is a threshold beyond which the stakeholder, the user, imagine that the reporting is not correct. But having different ones, unless having a list of threshold, and could be disorienting for people. What's your opinion about this?
This is correct. But it's we are in the middle of setting a single threshold for everything, which is much easier for everyone, but it's not correct. Because it's mostly make a scale from the high important one to the less important one based on the end user who read the report, which need to have a different scale, a different threshold. Let's do an example where we talked many times about this. If we are on a water stressed area or not, make difference about what is more important for the end user. Let's say that water usage is important because it is, but it is much more important in those zone, in those country which are under the water stress. There is a high water stress level. So we need to take care of what the company set in their sustainability report, for example, about the reduction. Because if they say we reduced the 30%, but instead it was just a 5% reduction, that will make a huge difference about the end user which is reading the sustainability report. I think this is the key topic. And it is very hard to address because I think that from an auditor perspective, setting the threshold will take a much more time, which is next to the analysis of the risk level of the company and the disclosure they are making. Yeah. And then let's get to the part where the fun begins, because it's about the qualitative materiality. We are going beyond the numbers. We are talking about the narrative part. We know that the sustainability report have at least it's 70 or 80% on narrative part.
And it's also about present and future.
Exactly.
Especially future is the problem. It's
there is a lot of part which is forward looking for a 5 or 10 years. This is something which is hard for the company to understand and to make the hypothesis, and it's hard for the auditor to assess. And because usually all the narrative parts must be supported by documentation, by a strategy, by investment, by their budget, because those can lead to to the greenwashing, because the thin line between let's say a little misstatement of those in the narrative part and a big misstatement that lead to the greenwashing is very thin line. If a company claims a carbon neutrality, but has no very full offset strategy, this is a very big problem. If the company state that we don't use no child labor in the supply chain, but they don't even control, they don't even audit the supply chain, the reputational damage is massive. If a company state about the governance side, zero bribery policy, but investigation revealed that there are unreported cases of corruption, this is something which is very critical. And it's even the ICS 5000 warns that ignoring those qualitative materiality could lead the stakeholder to a misleading, to a different opinion, even if the quantitative errors are small. So we can face that the quantitative data is all correct, but it's the narrative part that we are going to a little bit of trouble if we don't check, we don't audit, we don't control the type of documents supporting those narrative data. So we have set and we are talking about the quantitative materiality, the qualitative materiality, but how sustainability auditors evaluate them. What is the process of reasoning to understand how to approach those materiality threshold? The first one, like we said, it's the risk assessment. Every audit starts with a risk assessment. we need to identify those disclosures which are susceptible of misstatement. But the key problem is if it's the first sustainability report of the company. We need to address those risk assessment even before we have a draft of the sustainability report. So those are on the first time. Those are the real problem that we are facing. Also, we need to, after the company do the stakeholder mapping, the stakeholder engagement, we need to analyze the impact analysis into the stakeholder for the misstatement. We need to assess if the misstatement in every disclosure the company doing the sustainability report would affect or not the key user. And then we are going into those analytical procedure like trend emission, the energy use, some substance testing, reviewing internal control. Those are some key procedure to let the auditor understand which is more relevant and more important, where we need to focus our control or not. So those are the real world challenges. Estimation and judgment, it's throughout the sustainability report. And we know estimation is in fact lacks of precise measurement. If we are on the first sustainability report, we don't have any historical data which we can compare the sustainability report of for example, 2025 with the one of 2024. So we can do those trend analysis. And we need to address also the stakeholder sensitivity, because some errors can lead to a reputational risk even if numerically it's correct. So, for example, like we said about the water usage before, or about the supply chain. So those are what we need to address, what we need to understand to set our materiality threshold. So this is, let's say, what we have about the quality materiality in a short time, because we can spend a lot of time talking and doing some example, but we wanted to just give some key focus, some keywords to understand how an auditor approach the audit and the material misstatement into the sustainability report. I think we can go to the question that we received already. The first one: how do auditors set quantitative materiality threshold in sustainability assurance? This is something that we already said. I don't know if Luca, you want to add something, but it's about a percentage of a revenue or asset or a disclosure of environment impact, for example, GHG emission, water usage, workforce diversity, human rights. So let's say that the more easy one for the quantitative materiality is just set a percentage. Is there a universal percentage for setting materiality in sustainability audits? Like Luca was saying before, no. Unfortunately, no. Because even if from different companies, a different sector of the company, because one sector can be more sensitive about the emission and instead on the other, on maybe another company or other industry, or it's based also on the stakeholder impact that can be different between the companies. So we don't have any, we can't set any universal percentage for setting materiality, which is different from the financial statement, where the materiality is set based on revenue or asset, and we already have a process which is common used by every auditor to set the materiality for the financial statement. What is an example of a small quantitative misstatement that had a big impact? I think it's the one based on the water consumption, based on what we said before about where the company is based. If I'm based in a very water-stressed area, then this is something which even a small misstatement can lead to different opinion and to our stakeholder. How do auditors verify sustainability metrics like GHG emission? It depends. It depends if we are on a limited or reasonable. Let's say that we can base on analytical procedure, trend analysis, if we have some history of metrics of the emission. Testing of a control, if we are sure about the process that is used for the calculated emission, and then we just check the internal control for those type of metrics, then we can be sure that the emission data is accurate and not manipulated. How should auditors handle incomplete sustainability data when setting materiality? I can say we must use our professional judgment. We must use some industry benchmarks if we have one. We can look also at other companies in the same sector. And it's very, let's say we need to deep dive into the sustainability reporting process just to be sure that the sustainability data is complete and don't have any lack, for example, the internal control. Can qualitative materiality be more important than quantitative materiality? Yes. Let's say that, like we say, a small error in ESG disclosure can have a very high reputational damage, even if the numerical part is low. We are talking about for the numerical part, all those metrics, but for all the narrative part is like the ESRS in the upper section of every topic standard, like the strategy, the policy, the action you made or you will made. Those there are forward-looking. Those are the part which we need to take care, and nothing is omitting in this part. What's an example of a qualitative issue that auditors should flag? There are many, but we were talking about the supply chain. And if a company, for example, claims zero tolerance for child labor, but they fails to audit the supply chain, then we have something missing in the middle. How you can state this claim and you don't go to control to take a direct look into your supplier, because if it's happening like it happened for some company, the reputational risk is huge, and it's making a qualitative material in this type of issue. How do auditors assess materiality for sustainability topics like human rights? We analyze stakeholder impact, what is expecting from the regulatory side, reputational risk. Those are the type of what we are going to look to set if an issue is qualitative material or not.
Excuse me, Giacomo.
Yeah.
I think that in this specific argument, materiality threshold should be posed at 0 level, according to CSRD. Every violation or not proper assessment or judgment about human rights should be banned, and so should be underlined by the auditors, thinking that a not proper judgment about human rights, it's a deep violation of rules of engagement for sustainability report and sustainability management in itself.
Yeah, totally agree. So what should an auditor do if a company omits a sustainability disclosure entirely? This is the school study of material, because omission are material, or maybe it's 90% of the time a material, but we need to dive in why the data is missing. We need to consider the quality of materiality for sure, and by the end, if the company don't fix those omission, we in our assurance report we must include the limitation of the scope.
But if I understand the question, I think that it depends from the double materiality assessment analysis in itself, because if you omit disclosure which is not material, is not a problem for the auditor, while in the case it's the contrary, and so it's a real material topic. You have to properly disclosure and properly report. So it depends on the basis of the reporting itself. And in the case the topics submitted are real material, and with priority respect of others, I think there should be a negative judgment from the auditor, expressed in various way, but
but it's correct what you say, because we have heard about company which was audited already.
I mean, in this case, we have a dozen of arguments could be omitted with regards of the materiality assessment, with difference from financial report, which has compulsory argument and compulsory structures.
Exactly.
So it's a case which shows once more that this argument is really complex for professional like us.
Because from what we have heard from company which was already audited entire sustainability report, some audit firms were asking for every material topic in the application requirement 16, why they didn't set this as a material, they didn't disclose what is about this topic. So there are a dozen of things that we talk about why of the omission.
So it's clear that no reporting cannot be a right decision from the company because
Exactly. So this is a great one. What if a company sustainability claims don't match internal reports? I think this is for as auditors a big red flag. We need to investigate. We need to request the source of the documents. We need to verify the internal control. This is something that led to us to increase our type of control, because maybe it's just like an aspirational sentence, an aspirational report of something that they want, the company want, but they don't have anything in place. Like I want to be carbon neutral by 2030, but there is nothing in place, like no investment plan, no operational, neither strategy, neither policy, nothing. So just some sentence placed in the sustainability report, which this is something which is the thin line, let's say, before from a reporting and the greenwashing. Can audit firms set different materiality threshold from different ESG topics? Yes, like we said. For example, for GHG emission, we can set a threshold 2%, the water usage at 5%, diversity 1%. So it depends of the company and the structure.
The context, the specific industry, and the dimension.
There are so many variables in place that can lead the auditor to set those thresholds. So, what's the biggest mistake auditors make in sustainability assurance? We need to have the time to audit the sustainability report, because, as you know, the first report that came out for the 2024 was for the listed company, and now it's where the fun begin with apart from the omnibus. The company that will release the 2025 sustainability report, we will deep dive into a more broader audit of sustainability report. The biggest mistake, I can say, focus too much on the quantitative materiality, we like ignoring or don't taking really care of the qualitative aspect of the reporting, because like we said, checking the numbers, it's much easier than checking a sentence, but it's more at a high risk of error, the sentence, than the quantitative data. Because for the quantitative data, once we check the process, we check that the data collection is in place, is correct, it works, then we can expect that the final result is correct. This is another great question. Do auditors need sustainability expertise to set materiality threshold? We can say absolutely yes. Even as in our sustainability engagement, we have expertise in our team that will help us understand for their professional specialist, for example, environmental or social. They help us to set the appropriate threshold for the sustainability disclosure they have into the sustainability report. Will AI, the AI question is an evergreen which always came up. will AI change how auditors assess materiality sustainability assurance? Yes. Let's say that AI are more speedy than the auditor, the physical auditor, to detect anomalies in ESG data, or maybe they can perform predictive materiality analysis. They can compare report from different companies in the same sector, just to raise some differences or something, to just deep dive into the type of control. The last one before we close, because we are reaching our time. What's the future of materiality and sustainability assurance? I can say that we will have a more standardized ESG threshold. Once there will be more sustainability report with assurance, where in the next few years, maybe we can arrive to just have the threshold set for by sectors, instead of a single company for the sustainability report.
But the last question was, what's the future of materiality and sustainability assurance? I would think about what's the present of materiality. The present is not easy. I think your very professional exposure of this argument, of the phases of this argument, can show that there is an answer to this question. And I think that's why the EU regulators chose to pose 4 years of limited assurance in this field, because trying to have a reasonable assurance, unless for a very specific argument within a specific and expert company, should be impossible, in my opinion, and at the moment. And that's why I think that we have to wait for precise guidelines from regulators, also in the form of sector standards. I mean, the omnibus package is very involved with we cancel the the sector standards, which I think is a good way to make more proper reporting within a single specific sector. I mean, doing reporting, but also with assurance, sector standards, which be very useful, provided that we have arguments so complex, so various, so extended in the present as in the future, in the qualitative or in the quantitative dimension, and whatever else. All you said since now. So, as you said, I think that we need professional judgment, which is the first, luggage we have to carry with us, dealing with work like this, and especially trying to profit from the double materiality assessment made by the company, especially if it was done properly, because the quantitative determination of the impacts and all, as well of the risks or the opportunity, all this analysis by the company could help to understand if a topic is to be prioritized respect to the others in this argument. And so there are 2 or 3 tips, I think, that are very important for us in this moment.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see if no other question came up, then it's I think it was a very interesting conversation today, because we have covered a lot of ground, from the fundamentals of quantitative, qualitative materiality in sustainability assurance, to what we are facing, to the real world challenges that the auditor have when setting the materiality threshold. So, like you say, quantitative materiality, just to wrap up what we say, the quantitative materiality is easier to define, but still requires the professional judgment. The qualitative materiality is where the fun begins and the things get complex, because we are talking about reputational risks, regulatory concern, ethical responsibilities, and materiality isn't a one size fits all. It changes. It depends on industry, stakeholder, some expectation of our stakeholder. And we, as an auditor, need to combine those analytical skills with a deep understanding of the sustainability impacts that it's all about the materiality decision. Before we go, I would ask everyone to keep this conversation going. Connect with us on LinkedIn. Follow for more insight. Feel free to send a message on LinkedIn or by email if you want to dive much deeper into this topic. A huge
we thank all of you to gather this session, and maybe also the next.
Yeah, exactly. Share the video. The video will be available on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on our YouTube channel. And the audio part will be on all the major podcast platform. So you can listen to us on your daily trip by your car, and you can hear back what we said or hear for the first time. It depends on you. So a huge thank you to everyone who joined, sent us the question, that engaged today. The participation of everyone makes those sessions so much more valuable. And a huge thank you from me, Luca. And keep the questioning, keep challenging. We will see you in the next live session, maybe in 15 days, but we will see. We will announce on our social network. And until then, stay curious, keep pushing the boundaries of sustainability assurance. See you next time.
See you.